Okay, people, it was probably about this time last year, you know what I mean, that we got hit with Encanto. And that was so good. So I figured I would check out the 61st production from Disney Animation Studios, which is Strange World. So this is directed by Don Hall and Qui Nguyen. Nguyen also writes the screenplay. The film is produced by Roy Conley, uh, executive produced by Jennifer Lee, and associate produced by Laurie Ooh. Henry Jackman handles the music. Sarah K. Reamers edits the piece. Jamie Spara Roberts handles casting. Justin Cram and Mefradad Izvadi do production design. Art direction is Larry Wu. And our voice cast, well, we have got Jager Clade, voiced by Dennis Quaid. We've got his son, Searcher, voiced by Jake Gyllenhaal. Gyllenhaal's son is Ethan, and he is voiced by Jaboukie Young-White. Searcher's wife, Meridian, is voiced by Gabrielle Union. We then have Callisto Mal, right, who was a companion of Jager and then becomes the mayor, right? She is voiced by Lucy Liu. I think the people on her ship are her kids, right? So there's Caspian, voiced by Karan Suni. Polk, voiced by Adelina Anthony. Mm, Yeah, I'm not quite sure who else there is, to be honest. Other characters, though, we've got Dazio, voiced by Jonathan Mello. Cardiz, voiced by Nick Nick Dodani. Lonnie Redshirt, voiced by Abraham Bernruby. Azimuth, voiced by Francesca Rowe. Rowe, voiced by Emily Kunda. Rory, Reed Buck. That's probably the main people that you need to know about. And the gist of the film is this, right? It's set in the world of Avalonia and follows the Clades, a legendary family of explorers, and Callisto Mal, the leader of the exploration and president of Avalonia, who must set aside their differences as they embark on a journey to a mysterious land below their world, inhabited by surreal life forms to save a resource called Pando from losing its energy power source. So, yes, there we go. It's right. They say it's inspired by Pulp Magazine's Journey to the Center of the Earth, King Kong, probably Discworld, right? Stuff like that, which I think you can probably see in it. But for me, right, I think one of the things about Encanto, which was so great, was it was just this kind of fun, new kind of story, right? This Strange Worlds feels very staid, right? Because we start off seeing Jagger and Searcher on loads of different adventures, right? And you can see that Searcher doesn't really want to be a part of it all, but he's dragged along by his legendary father, right? But they do that thing where the kid is just terrible, right? Keeps them doing stupid things, getting into trouble, just all of that. And it's just like, look, okay, you want to create a scenario where the dad and the son are at odds, you know? And fine. It doesn't have to be one is a complete loser at this adventure lark, right? They could be both good at it, but just, yeah, he doesn't want to do it. It's simple, right? Or there's just other things, right? You'd just be like, because look, how many times you hear about people whose parents are like doing some crazy stuff, right? And the kids sometimes it's like, I don't see him enough, right? So it could be that, but it's always like, oh, you were a bad dad. And it's just like, okay, but why? Because you got dragged on these adventures, you got to see the world, you know, well, their world, but it's just like, what other things, right? There's other things. It's not just this base level, just, oh, I didn't want to do that and you made me do that thing. Oh no. You know what I mean? It's like, give us something a little bit more. Pretend your audience is intelligent, right? So, you know, stuff happens. We then jump forward. I think it was 10 years, right? Maybe it's 20 years. I think it was probably 20 years, actually, to be honest with you. Something like that, right? And so you now got a scenario where the kid, Searcher, he's like, I'm completely against, right, doing this stuff. No, I'm I'm about doing this instead. And you're just like, ah, okay. Oh, it was 25 years. Yeah, they jumped forward 25 years after the beginning. Right. And you're just like, all right, that's all well and good. But like, we've seen it. You know, we've just seen it so many times. And, you know, Ethan's gay, which is just like, who gives a fuck? But they make it this big part of the film, kind of, but it doesn't play any role in the film whatsoever, right? And it's not like we're really exploring relationships or anything like that. So it just seems like a pointless thing to kind of try and shoehorn in, right? Give me organic stories. You know, if we're like properly exploring relationships and how these bonds are made and what constitutes what a family is, fine. But we do not do that. We just don't. You know, it's like everyone's having these arguments, right? You made me want to have to go on adventures all the time. And then it just gets resolved like that, right? Nothing really happens. You know, there's a thing with the ship, and then suddenly, then everyone's cool again, and you're just like, wait, what? Like, I thought this was a big issue, and you're saying it got resolved without any sort of conversation? Hmm? Like, we've got this energy source, Pando, which where the fuck did they get the name from? But you're going on a mission because this source is gone weird. It's obvious Searcher didn't invent any of the things that use Pando. So if you're going on this big mission to try and work out what's going on, wouldn't you bring some of the engineers and scientists that worked on it, that found out that it could be utilized in all these different ways, right? It's just like that makes pure sense. You know what I mean? There's a load of things in this new world that they discover that is just pure assumptions. Right? It's just like, oh yeah, no, we're doing this and blah blah blah. And it's just like, wait, how do you know that? Right? It is the big conclusion at the end. It was just like, how do you come to that conclusion? Right? You see one thing and straight away you're like, oh, we have to do this. And it's just like, like there's so many things that could have caused that thing. Right? Obviously, it is the thing that saves the day, but it's just these weird, just jumps of logic that just really make the film kind of jerky in its flow. You know, yeah, for me, it didn't really make any sense. Like animation wise, it looks really good, you know, but that's what you come to expect. The animation is going to be great, right? It's just a story where everything kind of falls apart slightly. And one of the other things is, so you've got Jake Gyllenhaal voicing Searcher, but it's like we see Searcher as a little kid, and then, as I said, we jump forward 25 years. So I think when we see him, he's 15 because there's another later in the film he says he's 40, right? So if we're jumping forward 25 years, that means, yeah, 15, now 40. Your voice can change, right? But it's Jake Gyllenhaal voicing the 15-year-old and then the 40-year-old, where you're just like, okay. I mean, you could get some like two different people doing that, right? It's just sometimes it's the little things that throw you from these stories, right? We got Ethan doing this ridiculous shit, stows away, that runs away, but there's never any repercussions for the actions. You know what I mean? Like there's never any like, listen, you don't do that. Oh, you have an argument and then you run away? Do you understand how dangerous and foolish that is? Right? If because it's clear that there's certain lessons that they want to install in people, right? But it's just like, how about consequences for your actions? Because it's just people do stupidness and then it's just like, oh, well, you know, there you go. Right? Where you're just like, what? What's happening here? Right? The pilot of the ship announces, oh, I can't pilot this ship. And it's just like, well, you were up until a certain point. So what blow? You know what I mean? I found it a very weird story. Found it a weird story. I think if you don't look at it too hard, it's probably fine. Right? You can probably be like, all right, it's cool. You know, and I think if you're a fan of, I don't know, I don't watch a lot of the Disney cartoons. As a kid, you know what I mean? You watch them all, but then there's a point where it's just, yeah, I just have missed out on so many. But when you consider stuff like Encanto, because that's the most recent one. Is it Red Panda? Red Panda was decent, right? That was a decent one. Up, loved Up, right? It just doesn't have the same charm of those films, which is a shame. Is a big shame. Um, because I think there's a lot that you could do with this story. And if you've got this family of adventurers, there's short films, other things that you could do, you know, but it's just I don't care about any of these characters. Just do not care. Right? Um, at the end didn't make any sense. And when I say it didn't make any sense, look, I don't need to watch one of those stupid fucking videos. You know what I mean? Every time something is completed, a film comes out, a TV series ends, it's always the ending explained. watch this YouTube video. And it's just like, no, no, no. It was very clear. I think a dum dum is the only person that isn't gonna get how what this means. We don't need a fucking YouTube video to be like, well, as you can see, they did this and that means this. Whoa. Plus, it's your dumb interpretation. You know, what I mean? Unless the director and the writer are going, yeah, no, this is what that meant. I don't give a fuck what your weird interpretation is. But here's the thing, right? The end didn't make any sense just because it's like, oh, we've got this new power source now. It'd be like, how? What? Where did that one come from? Right? And how did you not know about that one until, you know what I mean? There's just it's just these weird things that they decided to do. You know, what Ethan is doing, and it's just like, oh yeah, and the work I'm doing is going to be better for the world, and it's just like, what are you doing though? Right? Like there's this all these, oh yeah, but I mean, we jump a year, right? But it's just, yeah, we're meant to believe that, oh, this is happening and this is happening, but it's just like, but what the fuck is it? Right? What are you doing? It makes no sense. None of this does. But yeah, there you go. I guarantee, right, this is going to work for a load of people. Just for me, I mean, I clearly think too much, right? But yeah, it just didn't have the same charm, flow, just story that you could lose yourself in. You know, it's a shame. It's on Disney Plus though, right? So Strange World, it's there if you want to explore.